an official statement that this meeting is being recorded, so you'll be able to refer to it at a later date. As I mentioned, my name is James Martin, and I'm the Public Art Administrator for the City of Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm joined here by Holly Hayden, who is the consulting artist for the KCI Public Art Projects, and also joined by Nia Richardson from the KC Bizcare office, who is going to give us more information about the various steps in becoming an official supplier for the City of Kansas City, Missouri. Holly, how do you want to start this off?
Yeah, I think we'll do it in a little bit different order than we typically do tonight, since we have Nia as our special guest tonight to go over some paperwork portions. So let's just jump right into what we're talking about. I'll just do a quick overview of the project location, and then I'll kick it back to James and he can talk a little bit about what the 1% for art is. We can get into the specifics of how to apply, what we're looking for with the selection, and then talk about actually how to become a supplier with the city and how to go through those paperwork steps. And then we'll do Q&A at the end. So a little housekeeping, if everybody can keep their audio on mute throughout our presentation, that would be really helpful. If you have a question, feel free to just type it in the chat or raise your hand, and then we can pause and ask and answer your question. So if no questions to kick off, I will start with just a little bit of an overview of all of the art projects that we're working on at the new terminal and parking at KCI. So most of you have probably been following along for the last couple of years of all of our community meetings that we've had and different discussions with our arts organizations about where the best places for art to be located in the terminal and parking would be. So we created this, we call it a heat map. And this is an overview of the terminal. So you can see that I shape right here. And then the parking garage is across the roadway. That's on this side. So in all the colored boxes, we've highlighted the different areas where there will be art components that are 1% for art from the whole program, or the whole project budget. So here was that outline of percentages and budgets for each of those locations. And we've gone through the first 8 locations already. The first 4 are selected. You probably heard those finalists' names or read them in an article. The second 4 locations are in the RFP phase, so they're in selection and they'll be selected next week. We'll have those presentations. And right now we're in the concourse portion of this. So within that concourse, it's not just one location, it's 19 locations. So this one's a little different than some of the other areas that we've talked about before. I'll toggle over to here. So most of you probably saw this. This is directly from the RFP, from the call for artists, from the link that we sent out. And this is just a quick overview. Again, today I'm going to breeze through this kind of fast since we're really focusing on paperwork and registering with the city in today's info session. We also have 2 more info sessions coming up this coming Saturday and next Wednesday. If you would like, or the following Wednesday, if you would like to register for those as well, you can. And then also this one will be recorded, and last Saturday's info session are recorded, and we'll post those on buildkci.com for you to go back and reference. So any questions before I jump into this? I want to make sure, I don't think I can see the chat while I'm presenting. Let me do one thing before I show that. I'll mention this probably 15 more times in the presentation today. Our launch pad, if you need to find any of the information that we talk about today, or you can't remember some of the links we said, or where do I find information, it's buildkci.com/art. That's up here. So all of the information, all the links, frequently asked questions, everything we're going to go over will be located on this website, and there's different click-through pages. So what I'm about to show, which is the images of the spec document from the call for artists, where you can find that, we put this as the very first link, so super easy to find. Call for artists, click here. And the first link was register for information sessions. Well, you're all here, so I think you did that part already. So this one right here, concourses A and B, RFP. I click through and it takes you directly to all the information about the call for artists. And what I'm showing you now is right here where it says view site details. You'll be able to see the exact same thing I'm going to show today. So let me go back to that. And typically we do this last on the info session so we can get the paperwork part first, but I'll just quickly go through this, and this is where we have most of the questions about it, but we'll save those for the end. So we're looking at wall-based artwork. So that's what we're really asking for in this call for artists. So again, like we said, there's 19 locations. So 19 artists will be chosen for 19 wall locations. And those are notated in red here, and they're throughout both of the concourses. So you won't get to pick which wall you're on. They're essentially all identical. There's just a few slight differences on them, and they're pointed out over here to the side depending on what discipline your artwork is. So we have certain areas, certain wall locations that have electrical components here, and you can see where those outlets are located. They're actually up high. So if your artwork maybe is a digital piece or it has some lighting component, you don't have to run an extension cord down to the floor and plug into your traditional outlet. It'll actually be hidden behind your art. And James, if you have if I missed something too, I know I'm going through fast, stop me or jump in if I skip over something.
Yeah, I see there's a hand raised.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
So let's see, is that Allison, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious. Holly was saying that there are multiple information sessions, and I was just wanting to clarify that. Are they all the same information, or are they unique to each meeting?
Sure. This one this evening is more of a unique one that we're getting into paperwork. So the info session from last Saturday, we covered this exact same material a little bit more in depth. The one this coming Saturday and the following Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays from now will be essentially identical. But as we get more questions that people send in, I try and read those out loud and answer them. So as the sessions go on, we answer more questions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Okay. We'll go back to this. So wall-based artwork. So, everyone has a unique style of artwork and everyone's just a little bit different in their discipline and their medium. One thing when we're thinking about this project in general, let's see if I can go back to the photo here, the gates. If you've ever been in an airport and you're waiting for your flight and you're sitting in the chairs next to your gate, which is labeled here, there's typically walls, there's typically counters, there's charging stations, there's kind of a lot going on. But on those spaces where there are flat walls, which we've notated on the red little rectangles here, we really wanted there to be an interaction with right at eye level artwork. And now that this is a local call for artists, we're really going to get to showcase Kansas City area and regional artists right there at eye level with travelers. So when you're thinking about your proposal and what kind of work you might want to create for this location, think about it on that level as well. It isn't going to be something that's far away or something that's behind glass. It's really right there and one-on-one with the traveler and the viewer. I'll go here. Here's a couple of more renderings just to kind of see. Here's this one right here, a little bit easier to tell. Let me go back up again. We've designated a 4-foot by 20-foot area above because in some locations there will be chairs below it. Other locations there may not be. So we just want to make sure all the artwork, essentially, if you can see the little rectangle I'm creating, kind of fits in this space like this. And here's a further away view. So your artwork would kind of be in this area here, if that makes sense. So when you're thinking about your proposal and your ideas, within this space, you don't have to create something that's exactly 4 foot by 20 foot. If your work is smaller, maybe you do a diptych, maybe you do a triptych of artwork, or maybe it's something that has several different components. But think about it as using the wall space best to fit your artwork and your vision. Here's another view of that. You can see those walls. And one thing that came out of our last information session were a lot of questions about what is on the wall, what color is that, what material is that, what is my artwork going to be hanging in front of? And it is actually oversized tile. It's 5 foot by 8 foot gray tile. So we have some construction photos here. This is exciting to see that some of the walls are going up. So these are real photos from the new terminal, and you can see how tall these panels go up. So that's finished but not grouted. So you can see every 5 feet there will be a seam. And there's what it would look like grouted. So kind of a medium gray, a neutral medium gray would be the backdrop for your artwork. And mentioning that it's on tile, thinking about how to hang your artwork, and we've mentioned this in all the provisions here. I'm trying to kind of overview and not just read this to you. Hanging requirements, we will be in charge of installation for this. So we want to use a picture rail system or a hang rail system. So there is weight limits required for that, but also thinking about when you're creating your artwork, the back of it, having that hang ready, whether or not that's D-rings or that's wire or something that makes sense with the piece you're creating, that's going to be stable, that can hang on that wire, that we don't have to drill through tile to install it. Although, that being said, if your artwork does require a little bit more stability, like a cleat on the back or something to make it more stable, we do have some of the walls that we have reinforced. So we will be able to drill through and hang those, but that's not our optimum situation. So think about that with the work you're creating. Go back to here. As far as lighting goes, most of the walls, I guess that we would call their curtain walls, are glass. So your work will be exposed to natural light. It will be exposed to the air conditioning system that's in there. There's going to be thousands of people walking by it, being near it. They might touch it. Things to think about. So one of the questions that we had last time was, we mentioned using UV resistant plexiglass over your piece and having it framed. That's something that we're recommending, but not all pieces would require that depending on what your discipline and your medium is. Say you had glazed tile or something like that, that wouldn't necessarily need a piece of plexiglass over it. But speaking of tile work, the depth of this, thinking about it, is 4 inches. So that meets ADA requirements. So if someone, for example, was visually impaired and they had a cane or something like that, and they were around the area, you wouldn't want something that was sticking out that they wouldn't be able to know that was there. That would be dangerous. So that's part of the ADA requirement for that. So that's just kind of a super quick overview of just what we're looking for in this call for artists. And we can dig into a little bit more. I can kick it over to James of, within all of this of what we're looking for, how is that framed within what this project is? Since it's a 1% for art for the city of Kansas City, Missouri, what does that mean for you as the artist in applying, and what are those eligibilities and requirements? So I will kick that over to James and go back to the website.
So yeah, so this is it's a 1% for art project. The 1% for art program sets aside 1% of the vertical construction costs for adornment of buildings with art. The total budget for each of the 19 spaces is $20,000. And I can tell you a bit more about the, if you want to learn more about the 1% for Art program, you can go to kcmo.gov/art. The 1% for Art program tab goes into more detail about how you can apply, which is the call for entry website that Holly has just been showing you. Can give you an overview of the rest of the public art plan for the new single terminal and parking. There's also a document there that gives details on how we select public art for 1% for art projects. It's through a committee process. We have selection panels that are made up of individuals from the Kansas City area that are involved with the airport, also local arts leaders, and we're also seeking out selection panelists from other areas in the country. Once you all have submitted your proposals with callforentry.org, the selection panel will have about 2 months to go through all of the applications, and then they will meet and finalize the 19 finalist artists probably sometime in August. A reminder that the deadline is June 18th. The criteria that we use include artistic excellence, relevant prior experience, appropriateness to the site and to the project, and durability. So one of the differences, slight differences with the art and the concourses is that we're actually asking you for proposals. We're actually asking you for your ideas. And so the reason for that is to open up the field wider to those individuals that may not have as much experience. We want to be more open to good ideas that can come from a variety of places. I noticed that there's a hand up. Is it Fatima? Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I have been working on the application, and I'm not really clear what's expected in terms of wanting a sketch of the work, because what I'm proposing requires research within the community and then using archival images. I would have to literally do a lot of the work in order to produce for you a sketch of what it would look like. So I'm not sure how to address that. So that's what I wanted to find out.
I can speak a little bit to that as well. Yeah, depending on your discipline, also in your proposal, a lot of it might be descriptive. So if you have a write-up of what you want to do, organizations you might partner with, resource links that you may use, kind of an overview of what that would entail, and then also relating back to your prior experience. So we're also asking for up to 5 images of past works. So if you have something in the past that maybe relates or looks similar, or if you have, some artists use like a mood board of here's the styling that I would have, here's some of the components that I would use. Even if it's just a sketch of it would take up this much space on the wall, that would really help the selection panelists understand your vision for it, even if you don't have a completed art piece at all. And we're not asking for a fully rendered, everything's figured out image either, but the more information you can give to the selection panel about you and your project and your vision will really help them understand where you're coming from with your proposal. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, I think it then would have to be just a mood board, because I've done a very thorough job in terms of the letter of intent of describing my qualifications and references to other projects. So
you want to be sure to include your process as part of that letter of interest. So that,
yeah, that's already in there.
Okay.
It just was confusing to me, because if it's not a finished piece based on my specific process, it would require making the piece to kind of do the research for making the piece to get the information. But I understand that you're not really looking for something that shows you what the work looks like. You're just looking for additional information.
Yeah, I think in your case, the imagery that you would supply would be images of your past work.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate your responding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Well, I had a question similar to that got sent to me via email today. I'll just address it while we're talking about that. Are the criteria not just for the judging, but actually the submission materials? Just kind of refining or really clarifying what those are. So we outline everything. Again, if you go to buildkci.com/art and you click on the very first, there we go, concourses A and B, it will take you to Cafe Call for Entry. So before you hit the Apply Now button, definitely go through all of the specs for this. We talk about the description for it, and we really outline exactly what we're looking for and which things you need to upload. So I think the one thing that maybe was a little bit confusing was having images of your proposal work, but then also having images of your past work. We do require both of those for this particular call for artists. So that's how that would work, just to clarify that a little bit. And James, sorry, I'll go back. You were in the middle of evaluation criteria at the call.
Yeah, let me answer this question first. There's a question about what we're looking for in terms of references. And actually, we're not asking for letters of reference at this point. We're actually only asking for the contact information for references. So you'd want to include that as part of your resume. And so, yeah, that should be related to your artistic practice. But there's no need to actually gather letters at this point, just the actual contact information for those references. So this, as I was saying, the evaluation criteria for the selection panel. Excellence, you know, that works of art in your portfolio are original, innovative, and exceptional quality. Relevant prior experience, that's going to be the examples of your past work, that you've created projects somewhat similar to this, that you've worked with multiple stakeholders, that if you've worked with art in a public realm as opposed to a museum or gallery setting, that's important to note also. Appropriateness to the site and to the project. That's keeping in mind that this is not a museum, it's not a gallery, it's not an art-specific location. It's a place that is very public. People from all walks of life, all manners of background in looking at contemporary art, and so that should be taken into account when developing your proposal. Durability, we've already touched on a little bit, that we're expecting, in many cases, UV-resistant plexiglass. And diversity, equity, inclusion, the Municipal Art Commission, which is the body of appointees by the mayor that approves works of art in public spaces, they have set out an expectation that we will have a diverse, equitable, and inclusive group of artists in the public art at KCI.
I want to add one more thing to the appropriateness to the site. Just an example. For this one, we are asking for wall-based artwork. So if typically you make large outdoor floor-mounted sculptural work, that would be hard for the selection panelists to translate your past work to a flat wall-based piece, if that makes sense. So just making sure the things that you're showing the panelists make sense to the site and the location and the idea that you're presenting to us.
A couple of questions came up. One in chat, what are the eligibility requirements for local call? There is a list of 21 counties surrounding the Kansas City area that this call for artists is open to. Also, artists living outside of those counties who can demonstrate significant ties to Kansas City or the Kansas City International Airport in your letter of interest are also eligible to apply. So if you're somebody that lived in Kansas City for a long time, you no longer do, you'd want to indicate that in your letter of interest, or if you attended the Kansas City Art Institute or UMKC, or another institution nearby, you'd want to be sure to indicate that in your letter of interest to be considered eligible. There was also a hand up. Israel, did you have a question?
Yes, hello. My question is, if your work does consist of rich media, so anything from mounted monitors that might be displaying some narrative and projections and projectors, is that a possibility given the parameters of the call?
Yeah, Holly will bring up something here that can help.
Yeah, so the extents of where the artwork can be really has to stay flush with the wall. So if you're talking about projectors and you would need something that is mounted further away that just projects on the wall, we could discuss that if that's an option. We can definitely ask our design build team if that's an option, but we know in those spaces, there may not be electrical run to the middle of the ceilings in those locations, and that's an extra cost and expense. And then also there's a lot of signage. So just where all the gates are and where all that is, we wouldn't want to obstruct any of that. There's also cameras, there's sprinkler heads. There's a lot of safety items in the ceiling. So keeping the wall as much flush to, or keeping your artwork as much flush to the wall is really where we're looking at for this. Okay. So if you had a couple options in your letter of interest of, I could do it this way to where it was a monitor with a data input, or is the possibility for a projector, ask. I mean, there's no harm in asking, but definitely have an option that maybe doesn't require that, so we don't rule that out right away.
Yeah. And what, sorry, let me throw this in. What would the archivability be of the work? So would there be some sort of maintenance throughout the life of the piece? Anything of that nature? I know that stuff and pictures and everything have a lifespan.
Yeah, so that's something that we're working on currently with all of the artwork pieces that will be in the airport, is what does that look like for long-term maintenance plans on any of those. So with some of the bigger sculptural pieces, part of their commission is having a maintenance plan for their piece itself. So if your piece, for example, if it's a digital piece or it's something that has, I don't know, a lot of texture or something to it, and you know it may need dusted or it may need cleaned every couple of months or twice a year, or if it's electrical, turn it off, turn it back on. If it starts kind of acting up, include those things. And that would be something that if you're chosen as a finalist as well, that we would explore those even further. So it's good that you're thinking ahead for that. When we're talking about the lifetime of these pieces, what we're kind of saying is 50 years. And I know works on paper that are going to be exposed to sunlight and people and air, that's a big ask. But we want to do our due diligence of having them framed properly with archival materials and that UV protection on it.
Right. And would that maintenance be part of, because I know it's the $20,000 all-inclusive, right? So is the maintenance that could be included part of that, or would that be a cost that would be additional in the future?
I mean, I would guess that has to be something for the future, but I don't have any definitive answers on exactly who that person would be or who that company would be that would be hired in to do that maintenance. So those are meetings we're currently in. Over the next 2 years, we'll have that figured out. But I really like that you're thinking ahead.
Yeah,
things like that.
I also wanted to be sure that we touched on the fact that there are 2 of the walls out of the 19 are going to have power in them and also data ports. So we've anticipated that there might very well be digital submissions that panelists will want to consider. Okay, so there's a few more questions here in chat. Nancy, did you have a question?
Yes, when Holly was showing the elevation of the wall, when she shows that again, I have a question about the details in the footage.
Sure. Was there a specific page you wanted me to look at?
I think it's the one with the elevation with the, yes, here. So on each side, it's above, it says 3 feet wide. And then the 4 panels in the center, I would imagine, are 5 feet wide. It just doesn't look that way from here.
It's not to scale.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, they put that on there on purpose. Yep.
Right. Thank
Yep.
you.
They're 5 feet wide. Mm-hmm.
And there was a question from Mary Ann. Mary Ann, you had your hand up. Did you have a question, Mary Ann?
Let me unmute myself, pardon.
Okay.
Hi, I had a question about the framing, since plexiglass, I think the widest plexiglass I've ever been able to find is 12 feet wide. And so let's say 10 feet, you'd have 2 panels at 10 feet, and there'd been a discussion since that would be a juncture. So you'd end up with, let's say if you did use 10 feet, then you'd have 2 10 feet framed pieces. And that would make, no doubt, a juncture between, or butted up to the 2 pieces. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are 20-foot plexis out there. Do you guys know?
We would probably have to research that. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I agree. We'd have to do some research on that. We're open to considering how an artist wants to break up that space, and
Okay.
any kind of combination, really.
Yeah, you can have 2 completely separate framed pieces hanging next to each other with a
Oh,
space in between, or they can be butted up against each other.
Okay, so that probably means you could even have 4 for that matter.
Absolutely.
Like 2 or 4. Okay.
Yeah. That is totally up to you and your vision. I don't want to end our questions on the art component, but I want to make sure we get through all of the KC Bizcare components of how to apply, what it means to contract with the city and all that, and then we can circle back and talk a little more art, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, let me just answer one last question here, and then we'll get Nia involved. So there's a question from Ada talking about budget. Is each artist in this section awarded $20,000, or is it up to $20,000 based on budget? At this point, we are imagining that each of the commissions will be $20,000. Yes. Okay, so I think we are ready to involve KC Bizcare and Nia Richardson now.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nia Richardson with the City of Kansas City. I'm the Assistant to the Director for Small Business and Entrepreneurship, and I run our KC Bizcare office. So I'm going to talk to you today about KC Bizcare, what we do, how we can assist you with getting your business set up. We run into a lot of artists that are kind of doing this on the side or as a hobby and really have never structured anything, because it is required for you to have a business license in order to do business with the City of Kansas City. In fact, if you are an artist and you are doing business and you are producing artwork and you are selling it, you are required to have a business license if you are doing anything within the City of Kansas, in the proper City of Kansas City proper. If you're in Independence, Grandview, Raytown, I don't know what their rules are. I can only tell you what the rules are for the City of Kansas City. What you see on your screen right now is the Bizcare Virtual One-Stop Shop. KC Bizcare is located across the street from City Hall at 1118 Oak Street. We share space with the business license team, and you can think of me as the person who helps you with all the prerequisites that you need in order to get a business license. And then I'll show you some other ways in which you can begin to prepare yourself to actually becoming a vendor with the city. And this is a way where you can be proactive in hopes that all of you are, successful with being awarded, that you can have all your documentation prepared, and that will expedite the contract process once you are awarded the contract for the airport for your art project. If you are someone who has not set your business up, meaning you haven't registered it with the state, you haven't gone through all the steps to get your business set up so that you can get a business license, this site is a place where you can get a variety of different resources, and I'm going to show you how to maneuver through our site. So again, we have a couple of quick links on how to start a business, renewing your business license, permits, and things of that sort. But I have a special page for public art. So if you are interested and you have not set anything up, you can check out this new guide for pretty much how to get yourself set up to do public art with the city of Kansas City. I actually served on the Municipal Arts Commission before working with the city for about 7 years. I've only been with the city for about 2 years, so I'm quite familiar with what it looks like on the other side. One of the biggest challenges that we saw, or that I saw during my tenure on Municipal Arts Commission, was the lack of local artists competing on contracts or for projects, and also the lack of resources to actually educate you guys on how to do that. And so in this role, I'm working with James and Holly on really how to get this set up. So kudos to them for helping me put the content together for you guys to be able to present this to you today. So if you have not done anything yet to start your business, meaning you haven't set it up with the state, you know, if you incorporate, do you have an EIN, operating agreement, Missouri sales tax? You can click on here to look through our complete guide. Otherwise, you can also click here, go through our intake, and it will produce for you a customized checklist for all the steps that you need to take in order to get your business set up so that you can be licensed with the city of Kansas City. You cannot license a business that doesn't exist. So for those of you who are sole proprietors, you can, and you're not operating under your legal name. So I'm not, as an artist, I'm not operating as Nia Richardson. I may say Nia Arts and Company. If that's how I'm going to operate, I need to register that name of the business with the state of Missouri. And that is called a fictitious name application. That is $8.25 online, and you renew that every 5 years. Otherwise, if you are structuring your business like an LLC, a S Corp, a C Corp, a partnership, you need to register that business with the state of Missouri. If you are coming from another state like Kansas and you want to do business on the Missouri side, you need to register that business as a foreign entity with the state of Missouri, which means you are outside the state, not outside the country, and you are coming to do business in our state and within our city. Beyond that, our guide will walk you through other steps that you will need to complete based on if you're a sole proprietor or if you have incorporated, which means you separated your assets. And the simplest way I can explain that to you is, if something goes wrong with whatever project that you have, I'm going to either sue you or I'm going to sue your business. So I don't legally advise people on how to set their business up, but you can advise an attorney, anyone who does business transactions, or business type attorneys. They can advise you, or business attorneys, they can advise you through what you will need to do and what's the best way to set up your business or structure it based on what you're doing as an entrepreneur. Beyond that, there are different steps that you need to take, and then also you will need to get a business license, and you can go from there. So once you have your business license with the city of Kansas City, you can begin to complete a vendor application through the procurement department. That's not done through my office. That's done through a separate department called procurement. Doing business with the city or contracting with the city is called procurement. Just in case you've never heard that phrase before, that's what that traditionally means. Right now, the vendor applications are paper. We will soon have a format within the next couple of weeks or so where you can do a vendor application virtually or online. At minimum, you'll be able to do it from your phone. I'm not sure if we'll have it available in time for this, but then again, becoming a vendor with the city can come, you can complete this and be proactive beforehand, or if you're selected, they will encourage you or basically send you all the information you need in order to complete the vendor application and get set up. On this page, we also have a different research and information about understanding city contract requirements, how to find the bid opportunities, signing up for a cafe. When I rolled off the board was around the time we really started pushing for cafe, because cafe not only shows you what we do locally, but it will show you what other cities are doing. So we are not the only city that does a public art program. Some cities have 1%, some cities have 2%, some cities are more than that. So hopefully once you get set up with the city of Kansas City, we've helped you get the understanding so that you can go to other cities and be successful as well, just like we've seen other artists from other cities come to Kansas City and get projects. Also, we have information on how to respond to a call for artists, which it's basically just a recap of everything Holly and James have just kind of told you, and then just a few other resources for you. So again, learning how to start a business with the city of Kansas City, this link will take you to our guide. The guide this is a full guide. So all of these things may not apply to you, but typically as an artist, You will have to, if you're going to structure something, you need to get your business structure. You need to decide on that. You need to register that with the Secretary of State. If you are not operating under your legal name as a sole proprietor, you need to register that name of the business with the Secretary of State. As a sole proprietor, you can choose to use your Social Security number, or you can get an EIN. Those of you who have structured, you are required to get an EIN, which is like a Social Security number for your business. For those of you who are selling your art, which typically, I believe in this particular situation, it is going to be seen as a transaction, like a sale. You are required to obtain a Missouri sales tax. And that also tells you what percentage of sales tax you need to add on top of whatever your sales price is for your product or your art. For those of you who have employees, you can also set up your withholdings tax to the same thing. The next thing you will also need to do is what's called a zoning clearance. It's very simple. You can do that through my site. It's free. And all you have to do is just tell us, where are you doing business from? Is that your home? Is that a studio? Is there a commercial space that you operate out of? We just need to know that, provide you that clearance, because that is required for you to get a business license. And those are the basic 4 steps or so that you would have to take. It's really simple. It's very inexpensive. Like I said, sole proprietor, register your name is $825. If you want to do something like an LLC, that's $51.25 online. When you everything in between is pretty much free. Your Missouri sales tax, your zoning clearance, your federal ID number, all of that is free and can be done pretty quickly. All this can really be done in a day, let alone an hour, depending on how efficient you are with a computer. But once you get to the step of a business license, the business licenses start off at $25. And here's a good tip. Business licenses are based off what you declare you're going to make between now and the end of the year in the Kansas City market, not what you're doing everywhere else. Anything that you declare under $28,000 qualifies you for that $25 fee. So if you go after this contract and you are awarded and you say, okay, this is the project I'm going to be doing in Kansas City, I'm not going to make any more than $20,000. You're probably going to be looking at a $25 fee. So you spent less than $100, in some case, less than $40 just to get your business set up. So getting that process going is not expensive, and you can always call my office, reach out to us, email us, and we can walk you through the process. When you get this customized checklist, there's ways for you to kind of bing me. As a matter of fact, let me show you what that looks like on the back end. When you get a customized checklist, you can make help requests for me, so I'll know when's the best time to follow up with you. But you will get these particular types of things, links directly to the applications and the information for the agencies, because I'm the city, I am not the state, in case you get stuck or have questions about any steps of the process that they have online. And the same thing goes for your EIN, your Missouri sales tax, and your zoning clearance, all with the links to do that directly from your checklist. So we try to make it very simple for you, as well as information of how to get your business license. The quickest way to get your business license with the city of Kansas City is to come into the business license office between 8 to 4:30. Bring all your documentation in. It takes about 15 minutes or less. We get you in, we get you out. We do not have appointments. You can come in on a walk-in basis. We only have 3 persons in the lobby at one time. Again, that's handled up front because we share spaces with them. But if you need help with getting all the prerequisites ready, you can call our office and or sign up for this customized checklist so you can get that. So let me step back one. So that's how you get started. Again, getting your business registered. You can also do that online through the Quick Tax system. If you need the vendor application, you can click this link here and it will pop up the vendor application that you can print out. Call me if you want to come pick one up. I'll be happy to print one out for you. Otherwise, you can pick one up on the first floor in the procurement department. But you are required to drop those off or email them to them once you complete that. Some of the things you need to be aware of when completing your vendor application: know your NAICS codes. So we did you a favor. We cheated. We gave you your NAICS codes and how to best find them and why you need them and how to identify them. Also, understanding city contract requirements. All these things may not apply to this particular contract, but we always want to give you a heads up on what you will need or what you could potentially expect. An IRS W-9 form, boom, click here, fill that out. You're either going to put your social or your EIN number, and that's just a way for the city to kind of identify you and kind of follow up with you from there as a part of your application process. E-Verify, I believe, is for when you have employees. Tax clearance request forms, certain city departments may require that. Workers' comp, again, is for if you're really in construction and you have 5 or more employees. Most contracts will require minority, women, or small local business participation, or maybe a small local business set aside. This will probably be more seen as a set aside for small businesses or local artists. So these requirements will not be on there because these the contracts are below the threshold. So you won't have to worry about that. Again, contracts over $75,000, this won't impact you. That will have prevailing wage. But if you decide to maybe later on come back, because KCI is not the only project where you can do public art, where there are public art opportunities for now and the future. These are just things you would want to know kind of as a heads up when what to expect when you're contracting with the city. How to find bids and RFPs. I get this question a lot. Here's one way that you can find RFPs for the city or for art projects. Click on that link, scroll down to art RFPs. There you go. Click on that attachment. Well, we got to find the attachments in here. But here's where everything will be listed, who to contact, if there's a mandatory meeting, when it is due, all those different things. So we probably want to get with procurement to make sure they get the document up there. But here's one way where you can go and obtain the RFP for this particular project. Other places where you can look, again, you can go to kcmo.gov, and of course the buildkci.com is another place where you can identify it. Signing up for a cafe, we've made that pretty easy for you. We show you where you can go, how you can get assistance, and things like that for the cafe site. We encourage you to go ahead and sign up for a cafe because, again, you can find out about opportunities here, but we want to help our local artists get more opportunities. So this is another way where you can find opportunities across the country. Do they go international with cafe, or is it just national?
Yeah, internationally.
Great opportunities. Also, just some background information of responding to a call for artists or RFQ or RFP, just some step-by-steps. Again, James had kind of went over this before, Holly went over this before for you. But again, you can learn what that process looks like so you can kind of prepare yourself, especially when it comes to interviews or things like that. Like, what is the process? At what point am I going to get a call back? That's what that kind of explains. Information of what you can kind of prepare, what's typically needed for a call for artists, whether it's an RFP or RFQ. And then some resources. There is a local organization for accountants, lawyers and accountants for the arts. I literally just got off a call with one of their folks today, and they are still running things. So please reach out to them if you need assistance with getting your applications together. If you have questions, legal questions, if you need an accountant for anything, because you definitely want to be tight on your books when doing this, so everything looks good, looks great from start to finish. But here's, again, this is just a typical guide that we created to make it easy for you to understand all the requirements or some things that you may expect when doing business with the city as an artist. But as an artist, you are still required, like any other entrepreneur, to get your business set up, get your business license, and also become a vendor with the city so that you can respond to the call for arts for 1% public art projects or anything else that happens, any other project that may happen through the department. Other than that, just some other resources on our site for you. Mostly people ask me, where's the money? As an entrepreneur, where can I get money from? There are a variety of different programs that we are adding to this site when we learn about them. Of course, we're now in COVID. There's different type of programs for that, grants for relief for our businesses. But I believe AltCap has they have ArtCap, a microloan program for artists if you're looking for something like that. I don't know if I have AltCaps. Yeah, they have their PPP loan information here, but same organization, you can contact them if you're looking for capital for your projects. Other things that our site has that might be useful to you. When you set up your business license, you are also setting up your city taxes. So if you want to know, and we don't have an industry guide created for you yet, but that is one recommendation I put into finance department, is to create a industry guide, tax guide for artists, so you guys can understand or know what to expect when it comes to your taxes. You definitely want to stay in good standing with the city and pay your taxes. Because like on the previous page, you may be required to get a tax clearance. And that's basically you coming to the city finance, checking your account and saying, yep, all your taxes are paid. They are good to go. If you owe the city any money, the city will not do business with you. So please be aware and please pay your taxes, stay on top of those different things. But again, this is just another page you can go to just kind of be aware, get a heads up, or know where to go to ask more questions about taxes with the city. And I believe that is all I have to present for right now. Again, resources, if you're looking for more resources as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurial artist, or artist entrepreneur, there are a variety of resources here. We have our community resources powered by KC SourceLink and their resource navigator. So just things for you as an artist, because we treat you just like any other entrepreneur. What do you need to be successful? What capital do you need? What back office support do you need? If you need business planning assistance, if you want to grow, you want to add new components to your business, you want to take it from a hobby to a lifestyle, a livelihood, or something that's paying your rent, or whatever it may be. These are just some great resources you can kind of reach out to, depending on what your specific need is. And so I will stop sharing from there, and then just let me know if you have any questions.
I see Israel has his hand raised. You have a question?
Yes. Hello again. My question is, so in this case, are we technically independent contractors? Is it artists selling goods? What framework are we under as far as the process, I guess, the transaction?
Well, that's up to you. How is your business structured now? Have you structured your business? Are you a sole proprietor? I'm
a sole proprietor and I have my business license. So I work as an independent contractor.
Right. Then that's how you move forward on that one. Yeah. You either a sole proprietor, independent contractor, or however you may structure the LLC, your company name, things like that. So yes.
Gotcha.
It's however you're structured.
So one thing I want to make clear, it's definitely recommended practice, especially if you're within the city limits of Kansas City, Missouri, and you're doing business. If you don't have a business license, you're actually operating not legally.
You're informal. We call you informal.
Informal.
Yeah, we don't come out there and cite you for anything, but it will impact you accessing capital. Let's be clear about that. That will, especially in COVID, that will hinder you from accessing any capital or any type of relief right now. You are required to have a business license for most of the money that is out there on the streets.
So just to make sure you understand, you can still go to callforentry.org and apply for the KCI public art projects or any other Kansas City public art projects without having registered, et cetera. I think what we're saying is that if you want to raise your artistic practice to the next level, these are the wise steps to take so that you can begin increasing your ability to compete for public art projects, not only in Kansas City, but nationally and internationally. And keep in mind that Call for Entry is only one of the website artist submission tools. There's CodaWorks, there's Slide Room. There are various types of tools out there that once you learn how to operate as a business more effectively, you'll be eligible for many more opportunities. So yes, you can go to callforentry.org and submit your materials for this opportunity without all of the licenses, et cetera. If you get a contract, all that's going to be required. And it's just a good step to do professionally for your practice. So Israel, you have another question?
Yeah. So this technically wouldn't be a sales transaction. It would be a contractee structure.
I've been working with the procurement division about that. It's actually going to end up somewhere kind of in between. It's going to be kind of a hybrid. We're trying to simplify some of the requirements. And so it'll end up somewhere between a formal contract and a purchase order. A purchase order is what we use to just go purchase something off the shelf. Because your art is commissioned, it doesn't exist yet. It's not technically a purchase that we just go and buy.
Right.
So it's somewhere in between. It's kind of a hybrid beast.
Gotcha.
Good question.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that was kind of a whirlwind.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, Nia. Having that whole setup, that's the first time I've seen that presentation. That public art button there on KC Bizcare is brand new. So all of this is really something that is really important. All those resources are there. Nia and KC Bizcare, they've made it incredibly easy to go through all those steps. I know it seems overwhelming, a sort of paperwork avalanche. But when you're really looking at it, that's just setting you and your business up for success to be a professional artist. So one question that relates to that I got emailed also was someone asked, I've never done any public art before. Can I apply to this? You can. The very first eligibility for the call for entry was open to professional public artists or professional artists. So part of that open to professional artists is being registered as a professional artist. So that's kind of what that means as well. So.
Yeah, I would totally encourage anyone who's never done it before. Something like this, with what James and Holly are doing right now, how they're trying to really make it a little bit easier for you to get in, is perfect for those who've never done public art before. Don't be discouraged if you've never done it. Team up with people. You know, we love to, I mean, when I was on the commission, we love to see joint ventures between new artists and artists who have kind of been in it, because we love to see more local artists kind of getting more into the mix and learning in their own backyard like we see in other cities. So please never get discouraged by that. If you are having a little anxiety about the process that I kind of explained, call me. I have partners in the community that will walk you through it, hold your hand. I will hold your hand and make sure you have everything you need. I will literally walk you up to the business license window and make sure you get everything you need included, processed, and in the door. I have staff that can assist you with, you know, if you're feeling a little intimidated about the application for a vendor. It's really simple for us because we've seen it a million times. We can help walk you through it to make it really simple and quick. You should be able to fill it out in just a few minutes, submit it, and get on to the next one. But again, the process that I told you is a more proactive approach. But if you're awarded, they will also, again, you'll still be required to complete those steps. So again, you can look at it for this particular project. There could be others in the future, but I would totally encourage you to definitely get everything set up so that you have a viable business. And hopefully I can help you access capital and more contract opportunities.
Okay, any last minute questions? We are at the end of our hour that was scheduled. Okay, here's a.
Is there a word? Oh, okay. I see the quick question about proposal and submissions. Is there a word count or a file size? Yes. I can pull back up the cafe site. It does give limitations for different areas of upload. Let me pull that up so we can view that. Come on. Oh, sorry. I gotta log back in. Concourse A and B. Let's go to apply now. We didn't show this part of it. I agree. This is what it's going to look like when you're ready to apply. And it does say, I think we put this in here, or maybe it was in the other part. I think they're only up to 2 megabytes.
Yeah, it
is
says
the max for the actual upload portion of it.
That's
I
for
think it's
the,
actually in the description.
yeah, it's 2 megabytes for your portfolio images.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the combination of your past works as well as your proposal sketches. Maximum of 2 megabytes each.
Mm-hmm. And this is not a form fill where you're typing words in, so there's not a word limit. It's a file upload. So if you have anything typed out in a Word or a PDF or a JPEG, there's no limit on that. You know, more for us to read if it's, 80 pages long, but whatever can fit in that 2 megabyte size. One thing too, I brought it up earlier, but I just want to clarify again. There's 2 ways to upload your proposal images, and we make that a little clear here, but then there was still a little bit of confusion. You can either choose file and just upload it. If you have a multi-page PDF, it has to be multi-pages because you can only upload 1 file. So there's that option, but say you have another rendering that you did that's a little larger that won't fit on there, you can actually upload it to your portfolio images and choose it as one of up to 5 additional images there. So we'll need maximum of 5 past work portfolio images and then up to 5 new renderings of your proposal. So you can split that if it can't fit because of the file size. So it may take a couple tries on there to see what works best. But that's how that would work.
I see a hand raised from Denise. Denise, do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Just some ideas I had were to reference some of the drawings of the building. And so I know on the proposal, there's like some images in there, but is there any way to access like a nice clean floor plan or site plan or something of the new building?
We do have all that. We typically provide those detailed plans to the finalists when they're doing their final. But if you're wanting something, just a more zoom in of something like this, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, just like I've never seen the full, I guess like a full zoom out of the whole site plan of the airport.
That is this.
Like I'm talking about way zoomed out. You know, kind of showing the final site plan with the new terminal on it.
Oh, even more zoomed out.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and see
like
some renderings. There's probably about
architectural drawings.
Yeah, there's about 16,000 pages on one of the detail plans that we have. So I'm sure it's in there. We're just focusing on our 10 art areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing, just I don't want to not answer your question, but I want to go back of where actually you may be able to find it. Is just on regularbuildkci.com. So if you just click that logo, like the icon, it's information about the project in general. So there's a whole gallery of images, videos, all kinds of things just about the terminal that isn't necessarily about art.
Yeah.
So
I'll just dig through there some more. I have dug through there some, and I realize this is a proposal, and I can kind of just Photoshop some plans up. But yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and one last question from Tara in chat says that she saw somewhere that the narrative needs to stay to 1 page. Is that the case?
I don't know if we specified. That might have been in the original. When we say letter of interest, that sort of generalizes that it's just a 1-page letter. Let me look on the call for entry. I don't think we specified. I think we said multi-page PDF upload. So if your proposal takes more than 1 page to describe it, that's completely appropriate.
All right, and I will take one more question from Israel, who has his hand raised.
Yeah, with the and I know that there's a listing for videos as well. Are you guys, can video support some of the 5 and 5 for the new proposal and old works, or would that be considered part of the 5, or videos just reinforcing some of the previous work that might have rich media?
So if you're submitting only video, yeah, the maximum that's set by call for entry, we don't have any control over this. The maximum is 5 videos, and I think they have some size limitations also. So in that case, you know, I guess I'd encourage you to split that up, you know, so that you are representing both some of your past work as well as your proposed sketch, so to speak.
Right.
You're welcome to include stills also under images, because there's a maximum of 10 that can be used there.
Right. Okay, I just didn't know if it was just five new works and 5 just stills, if videos were not included in the proposal.
All right.
Or could be part of the application. Thank you.
Okay. One last question, and then we really are going to go. And you can contact us, offline with any questions. So Tara, yeah, you've got your hand raised.
Sorry, I don't want to be, oh, can you hear me? It still says unmuting. I just found it because I'm always paranoid in applications that you're going to get cut for like barely not following the rule basically. So I went back and found it, and it's on the cafe website on number 1. It says on the header, it just shows letter of interest and proposal description, comma, up to 1 page. So I just want to clarify that is not, we're going to not be held to that 1 page right there.
I'm looking on the upload page and I see letter of interest here.
It's not on the upload page. It's on the list on the call page.
Got it. This overrides that since it's
Okay.
a choose file. So this can be a multi-page PDF.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure it's submissions, when you get a ton of applications, you're like, who can I cut first? So
Yep.
I just wanted to double check.
Nope, totally understand. We've looked at over 1,700 applications. So
I keep
far.
thinking about it. It's amazing. It's great.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. You're welcome to contact us with other questions. artsbuildkci@gmail.com, or you can find my email address on the kcmo.gov/art, and you can email me from there also.
Yep. Give us a couple days to upload this video to the website. We'll also put it on our Facebook page. I will send out an email also with the Q&As that we had written out. So you have those answers, and then a couple of other resources and links to go along. So if you registered for today's info session, I have your email, and we'll just be in touch here in the next week or so.
All right. Thank you all.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.